Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the second plenary session of this conference, and it's focused on all things European security, European defense, and European defense industry. So, Europe clearly has awoken, as was already sketched in the first panel, and there is serious momentum in both raising defense investment and strengthening the EU's defense industrial base at the same time. But the classic questions of overcoming fragmentation, overcoming cross-border barriers in Europe are still relevant, and of course the question of how should European partners finance and structure defense investment to get the best return for the euro. And to tackle these questions, we will begin with a keynote speech by Commissioner Andrius Kubilius, the European Commissioner responsible for defense and space. Commissioner, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. Labdien to everybody. And really, it's a pleasure and honor to try to say a few words about really a very important topic about strategic investment in the European defense industry. But I would like to start from trying to speak a little bit broader, because definitely, in the panel, financial people will speak very precisely about financial investments. I'm always saying that besides financial investment, we need to look into what I call intellectual investments and political investments into our defense readiness, into our defense industry, and to see a little bit all things in a broader picture in order to understand what we need to do. So I will try to run through my notes in a quite a rapid way. But I will start from very simple things in order to understand why and how we need to invest strategically. We need to again and again repeat ourselves what challenges we're facing. And definitely, it's very clear that Russian aggression, challenge of possibility of Russian aggression during the next 3-5 years is one of the major moving forces of our decisions. And that is opinion not of politicians, not of Commission, but of intelligence services, of big EU member states like Germany and other countries. And that is why our strategy is called Defense Readiness 2030. But besides this, understanding that Russia, with its war economy, with its battle-tested experience in Ukraine, can wage real war as we understand the war, aggression, we need to be ready also for what we have seen recently, more and more intensive provocations, what I would call below Article 5, but really very dangerous, with drones or with something else, what they will find to use. And definitely, again, here we need to be very dynamic in predicting, in moving ahead. And sometimes I'm saying, well, it's now a very popular topic, how to build drone wall after the last provocations. I'm saying that in order to build drone wall, first of all, we need to destroy old wall in our mindset. Because the question which I am getting now everywhere is very simple from experts, from media. So where have you been last 3 years when drones started to be used in Ukraine very, very intensively in the war, and we were not developing our defense capabilities inside of European Union countries? And really here, I can congratulate Latvia that you are, as I understand, today we had good conversation with Defense Minister, you are one of the front runners. But where were all others, So that's really a question which we need to also to have in mind. So that is why, in some way, we need to, that is why I'm talking also about political investments, about intellectual investments into our understanding what are possible threats and how we need to change our approach, our decision-making in order really not to be late in what is really very much needed to be done in order for us both to be ready to defend and to deter. Second challenge is a longer-term challenge which we need to also to have in mind is possibility that our transatlantic partners, United States, will start to diminish their presence on the European continent, will start to shift to more and more towards Indo-Pacific. Well, we do not have, some kind of clear understanding what will be their decisions, but if you read their discussions, it's obvious that, from one side they're asking us to take more of responsibility on our shoulders on European defense. From another side, they are really looking how to mitigate Chinese rising military power. And I would say again here we need to be rational, not emotional, and it would be good for us to have some kind of clear, practical, and rational agreement with the United States about how we are and when we shall be able and how we shall be able to replace their capacities which they are now using to defend us. And that should be also our very important strategic direction. Maybe we can agree that nuclear umbrella will stay with the United States, but everything else we need to be ready to replace. And here comes the question about our investment priorities, and that is where I would say that investment into what is called strategic enablers, both space capacities, also heavy airlift capacities or command and control systems, which are very crucial for our ability to defend ourselves, and where we are, for the time being, very much dependent on American resources. That should be one of of our priorities at the moment. So, if we see those challenges, then I can say my own opinion what should be our strategic goals in defense. Again, a little bit broader view. First of all, ramping up our European Union defense capabilities, which, first of all, of course, always we're speaking about what I call material defense capabilities. But when we're talking about our defense capabilities, I am always saying that now it's our priority, material defense capabilities, NATO capability targets, production, procurement, financing of those capabilities, but also we need not to forget about the challenge for us to have also institutional defense capabilities, to see into the future, especially if Americans will diminish their presence, how we shall organize ourselves on the European continent inside of NATO, but with clear European pillar of NATO and things like that. Second goal is creation of conditions for peace in Ukraine. And the third one, I would say, long-term sustainable peace in Europe, looking into much longer-term perspective, how we can live without the permanent threat from aggressive Russia. So those are, in my view, some kind of strategic goals, strategic directions which we need to keep in mind when we're talking in a broader way about our security and defense of Europe, and our responsibility to defend peace on the European continent. To describe shortly where we are with our strategic investments, I can try very briefly again to say that we, during this year, we are making good progress with our investments into European material defense readiness, and very soon, next week, we shall have an important strategic plan, the roadmap on defense readiness 2030. And during this year, we did a lot to create financial and legal opportunities to develop our material defense readiness. We created a lot of new possibilities, both we as EU, also NATO, with pledges of member states to spend up to 3.5% into real defense before 2035. We created what I call sometimes big bank of finances to be used to ramp up our defense production and procurement of new defense systems. We adopted omnibus on defense simplification. A new package on military mobility is coming. Also, new communication and important documents on transformation of our defense industry is also on the way. But you know, we can see also still what we need to do. I will maybe later on I will speak a little bit more in detail about this material defense readiness. But now I want to say a few words about issue of peace in Ukraine. and the need for us to have, again, very clear plan, European plan, how we can assist, or how we can, look into possibility of peace in Ukraine, not only waiting that President Trump, before he will get Nobel Prize, will do something important in that area. He's doing a lot, really. I am serious, but it looks like that those efforts are not bringing the outcome which we would like to see. So, in order to look into this topic, peace in Ukraine, and what kind of investments we need to look for, we need to, first of all, to look a little bit back into what we managed to achieve and what we managed to do with our support to Ukraine during those 3 years of the war. We need to understand that, well, we did a lot, definitely. It's not, nobody can deny. We as Europeans, as European Union, we invested into Ukraine defense capabilities 60 billion euros during 3 years of the war. Americans did the same. But if you will look how much it means per year, it's 20 billion per year from EU side and from American side. And it means that from EU side, we were giving a little bit more than 0.1% of our GDP. Americans were giving less than 0.1% of GDP. And I'm always repeating that, when we are pledging, and I hope that we shall achieve, that we shall spend 3.5% of our GDP for our defense, but we are still, investing only 0.1% into Ukraine defense. Something is wrong with our strategic logic, and that is why I see really it's very important to see that with a clear eyes, clear sight, what is the situation, and that is why I hope that possible European Union decision on the reparation law to spend, Russian frozen assets immediately to support Ukraine can be so important, sending a signal that Ukraine defense will be strengthened by the entire amount of Russian frozen assets, and maybe that can finally convince Putin that he will not achieve anything substantial in his war against Ukraine. Of course, besides that, we are looking also that member states will use opportunities now created by the mechanism of safe loans to use at least part of those loans to support Ukraine, and that could be also very important. Now, why I was speaking about the set strategic goal, what we need to do in order to live with sustainable peace, which means without the threats from aggressive and authoritarian Russia. Because in my view, even now we are suffering that we do not have any kind of longer-term strategy on Russia. And, well, I will not expand here, while talking about financial investments, but that brings really a lot of hesitation and obstacles when we are talking even about our support to Ukraine. Because from one side, we are afraid that if we shall support Ukraine more, then Russia will retaliate, will escalate. And second is also, you can feel that in some capitals there is the fear that if Ukraine will be supported substantially and Ukraine would win, on the front line big battles, that can destabilize the Kremlin regime, and that will bring general chaos to Russia, and then the fear who will control nuclear arms is coming in, and that is what becomes an obstacle and brings hesitation on our side. So that is why really it would be very important for us to have much more clear longer-term strategy, but that we shall discuss maybe in different on different panels. Now, if to come back a little bit again to our strategic financial investments into our material defense capabilities, as I said before, a roadmap which is coming next week, and then I hope it will be supported by European Council, is really very important document. And when I'm talking about this roadmap, I'm always saying very simple things. In my view, till now, we were creating opportunities for member states to develop their defense capabilities. Financial opportunities legal opportunities, defense industrial opportunities. Now we are moving into what I would call delivery period. And in that delivery period means that we need to move into contracts, into production issues, into procurement, and similar things. Of course, into financial side also very much. But first of all, we need also to have in mind three questions when we're talking about delivery period. The first question is what to deliver. The second question is how to deliver in the most effective way. What, who is going to do what about institutions, very important for us to understand. And the last question is how to finance what I would call big bang in delivery. On the first issue of what to deliver, the basic principle is clear. NATO capability targets recently agreed between NATO and member states are the basis for planning what needs to be delivered by 2030. But in order to understand what are those NATO capability targets, I can remind what NATO Transformation Commander Admiral Pierre Van Der have said. And out from his very simple numbers that new targets will be bigger by 30% or up bigger by 30%, but also the previous targets from 2021 we are not implemented also by 30%. Simple arithmetic is saying that now we are at the level of 50% of the new targets which we need to have in order to deter Russia. So job is quite clear and big job. And what to deliver can be again divided into three distinct groups of weapon systems which need to be produced or procured. First of all, production in a bigger amounts of legacy systems, what we are producing now. That's very clear. So, and here we need to look, do we have enough of production capabilities, or if we do not have, then we need to look how to increase those capabilities. Second, development of European new systems, defense systems, which are in general produced globally, but not in Europe. For example, deep strike capabilities. So from one side, we shall procure those capabilities from those who are producing, for example, from the United States, but from another side, we need to develop our own capabilities. And the third group is what I would call modernization or modern weapon systems, which need to fit into modern war doctrine. And here is exactly Ukrainian lessons are very crucial. Those are answers to the question what to deliver. And again, I would repeat, that among those broader, items of what need to be delivered, we can see again very important topic of strategic enablers. And second very important topic is flagship projects of regional or European scale, including Eastern Flank Watch and drone wall, which are very much needed for the countries, frontier countries, but also the same capabilities to defend ourselves against drones are very much needed in all the member states, because provocations can happen without big difference of where the country is located. On the second issue, how to deliver in the most effective way, really the challenge is to find the appropriate balance. What role in the management of big bang delivery should be played by member states, by Commission, by European Defence Agency and EAS and High Representative. And here I see one issue, that member states have strong historic convictions that defense is a matter of national sovereignty, and they want to keep all the decisions on the development of European defense in their hands. But sometimes it makes it difficult to go for more centralized planning, for more joint procurement for European defense level, and which can be achieved only if European Union institutions will play a more active role in the delivery stage. So, and also what is very important, that more centralized and European approach is also very much needed in order to overcome structural problems of the European defense industries, which is very much fragmented because of fragmented defense policy, lacks single market principles, and makes European defense industry less competitive in the global market. So while developing our defense capabilities on national level, we should not forget issues, structural issues related with European level of our defense industry, where the challenges were very well described by the famous Mario Draghi report. On the third issue, how to finance a big bank of delivering defense, I'm suggesting, first of all, to look at what we have at the moment and what is coming in financial terms. Well, first of all, of course, now on our table is the issue how to implement the mechanism of safe loans. 150 billion euros were requested by member states, even more than we were expecting. So now, at least, we can forecast that starting from next year, those money will start to reach member states. There is a whole procedure, but I hope that really those money will reach member states very soon. National escape clause also, which was requested by 16 member states. Our forecast is that it will allow around of 650 billion euros of additional national defense spending to be materialized till 2030. And in general, I am always trying to show to our communities the general picture of the finances, what we can foresee now. If all the pledges, all the good wishes which were declared would be implemented. So, as I said, only safe and national escape clause is bringing 800 billion euros additional funding to be invested till 2030. And in total, it's very easy to calculate. It means that, till 2030, we shall have around of 2.5 trillion euros invested by European member states into defense. Of course, not all the money will come into real defense. Salaries and pensions are also financed from those, from those allocations. But quite a big amount of money will come. And if we are looking into a longer-term perspective, for example, next MFF, period 28-35, so it's very easy again to calculate, forecast that around of 4.2 trillion euros will come into defense, if in average 3% will be spent by member states at that moment. So next MFF, we proposed 5 times bigger defense and space spending. So, and again, it's quite substantial. Of course, there will be discussions with member states about next MFF. I hope that defense really will feature as important spending, and that is again very important. But if we compare 4 trillion from national defense spending and more or less 50 or 60 billion for defense without space from MFF, so we need to see that national defense spending will be 80 times bigger than what we shall have in MFF. So again, what is the biggest responsibilities and biggest resources? And here comes again the question of EDIP, which we hope next week we shall finalize trialogue, because EDIP is exactly for us next MFF possibility to use MFF money for EDIP type programs and to incentivize member states to go for joint procurement, to spend more of their money, national money for European production. And I would remind that the whole chapter also in this EDIP is devoted to Ukraine. And also we need to remember that national defense spending is not regulated at all. So when somebody is criticizing that EDIP is too much orientated to European production, they should remember that EDIP is taking quite a small amount of money. So I will try to finalize my remarks on question, what are the opportunities for a region of frontier countries, of Baltic states, and I would say just several factors which I think are important. In my view, defense will stay as a key priority for European Union for the next 5 to 10 years. Strengthening defense capabilities on the frontier eastern flank countries will be one of the key priorities during that period of time for EU defense policy. Eastern flank countries have the benefit of learning from Ukraine and from doing defense together with Ukraine, and learning not only about modern defense technologies, but also how to build a modern defense ecosystem, which is crucial. And regional projects like the drone wall and Eastern Flank Watch will have I hope, will have a status of European flagship projects, and they will be developed together with Ukraine and learning from Ukraine on the importance of localized production of drones and electronic warfare instruments. And startups, of course, should be considered as engines of modernization, as we can see that in Ukraine. And we can, again, use recently established platforms like Brave Tech EU, which we established together with Ukraine, really to learn a lot from Ukraine. So Baltic states, frontier countries, have all the possibilities to be in the lead as promoters of defense modernizations. Perhaps tanks will continue to be produced in Germany, but production of drones, electronic warfare systems, can concentrate itself in Latvia and other Baltic states, because really in those countries we have a lot of capabilities. So I would perhaps finish my keynote remarks with a very clear message. Let's really prepare ourselves for defense. Let's do our homework very much, and let's see how we can strengthen not only our defense capabilities, but also our industries, and specifically in each region we can develop some specific capabilities which can be very much useful for the whole Europe. Thanks a lot. Paldies.